This is a golden opportunity for the Devils. Young talent in sports is already hard enough to come by. When there's an easier option, go ahead, take it. Don't think twice. Implications here, let's break it down. Welcome to Devils Digest. Glad you're joining us here today. Hope you'll join us all summer long to break down the Devils off season. Now, we're mid-July. We're getting more of a feel, a little bit more deeper into the offseason, kind of seeing what teams want to be next year, what teams are going to be next year. The Metropolitan has definitely been busy, to say the least. Trevor Zegras has been invited into the division. Noah Dobson over to Montreal, New York Islanders, stacking up on draft picks, young talent, kind of going into their rebuild. New York Rangers, well, they did a few things. Keandre Miller, no longer there. Looking to get, a little bit better on the defensive side. Gavrikov in. So, you look at the Metropolitan Division. It's definitely been active. I mean, Tom Fitzgerald, we should have known coming into it. He said, we're not going to be the same team next year. We're going to look a little bit different. This year wasn't good enough. 42 wins, 91 points, 20th in the NHL in scoring. That's not something that you're going to go crazy over, especially what you looked like you were 2 seasons ago. You have top talent in this league. Got to go out and make something of it. So we're kind of seeing these teams in the Metropolitan, what they're looking to go, what they're going to look like next season. Now, it keeps continuing today. Sometimes we've seen it recently. Teams maybe don't have as much leverage as they once did. We saw Cotter Gauthier, without ever playing an NHL game, force his way out. We saw, Matvei Michkov basically say, don't draft me. He was right there behind Connor Bedard. Probably should have went second overall. So we're seeing these younger players, have a little bit more advantage, a little bit more leverage in this league. And it continues in the Metropolitan Division. Yegor Chinakhov out of Columbus, he wants to change his location, requested a trade out of Columbus. So where this stems from, little bit of a red flag. It seems to be a problem with his head coach. According to Don Waddell, couldn't handle being healthy scratched. That's not something that, probably him and his agent wanted that to get out there to teams. That was not something that, Yegor Chinakhov and, Don Waddell, agreed on. Don Waddell knows what he's doing there. He knows that saying something like that does not look good on Yegor Chinakhov, a younger player, former first-round pick, hasn't completely found a role. You do know that he was being healthy scratched, but, going out there and kind of putting it into words, saying that he couldn't handle being healthy scratched, and he's going out and requesting a trade, it just shines a little bit of a different light onto it. And, kind of makes it maybe not going to be the best type of divorce, although when is a divorce ever honestly good? But not the type of light that Yegor Chinakhov and his agent wanted it. Now, what do I think about it? Look, I've been a big Yegor Chinakhov fan for a little bit. I think that I've wanted the Devils to maybe, obviously you don't really look maybe into as much getting a player who, was just a first-round pick. But this is a player who I really like. I think he's got a great shot. He has an NHL shot. He's a guy who you can put on the power play, and he can score on the power play. He is someone with offensive upside. You go ahead, you look at the games. And, not a ton of games, but the past 2 years, he's been on pace for 20 goals. I know it's tougher to say 7 goals in 30 games. You can't really say as much. That's still an extra 13 goals, 52 more games. But this is a player who, Don Waddell said, is getting healthy scratched, and he doesn't like it. 16 goals and 53 the year prior. He's been a player who has been, one of the better, or had to be one of the better offensive players for Columbus. Now, Columbus, one of the top scoring teams this season. I don't think a ton of people expected that. So, was it maybe a harder lineup for Yegor Chinakhov to make? I mean, you have a new coach in there. Season was going, I think, relatively well for Columbus for what their expectations were. Maybe a little bit harder, tougher to mess with that lineup. I mean, but you look, former first-round pick doesn't get a whole lot of ice time. It's somebody who I think he can work with, especially when he's just got 1 year, $2 million left. And you look at the Devils, the type of players that they have in certain roles, I will always go upside. There is upside here with Yegor Chinakhov. He has a great NHL shot. He can score. I think if you put him in the right role, the correct role, I think he can be, 25-goal scorer and a good 25-goal scorer. Not one of those players who just, gets their 25 goals and then, you kind of know it's not going to happen again. You know that with a player like this, I feel that, this is a 25-goal scorer, and he has the impact of a 25-goal scorer. And when you look at the Devils lineup, there's definitely pieces missing in the top six. I mean, you got players like Stefan Noesen, Andre Palat in your top six right now, and, probably don't really want that. Or if you have that, you better hope that your bottom six looks, a little bit more scoring to it. A little bit of a player who maybe can play in the top six but is playing in the bottom six. Yegor Chinakhov, I think, is probably a better option in your top six than Stefan Noesen or Andre Palat. Has a little bit more skill. Stefan Noesen plays a very, very good third-line role, but a third-line role. I mean, we kind of saw, this year he had his career high in goals in January and then, kind of tailed off because, like I said, Yegor Chinakhov, I think, is a 25-goal scorer every single season. Stefan Noesen, if he's going to get, 25 goals, it's going to be an outlier. That's not his complete role. Just kind of, happened. Yegor Chinakhov, I think there's a little bit more skill there. And I think with Stefan Noesen, very, very good third liner, looks really good. Probably one of the better ones in the league, but that's where he should be playing. Andre Palat, obviously a little bit older. Contract that had to get done at the time, but, they have kind of flirted with the idea of moving on, of trading him. I think that Yegor Chinakhov would fit a little bit better, and the Devils are out there for a top six winger, according to Frank Saravalli, still in the mix for a top six winger. Is Yegor Chinakhov, what they look at for a top six winger? Might not be that, but it's somebody who I'd like to have in the system. And, I look at kind of, with the Devils, and Sheldon Keefe doesn't seem like the type of player who's punishing players, who's scratching a bunch of players. Maybe a little bit different with Lindy Ruff, where, Alexander Holtz found it really hard to get in the lineup. It doesn't really feel like Sheldon Keefe's style. Seems like he gives a little bit more of a chance. Likes to play with these type of players. Obviously, he wants a full, top to bottom game, playing both ends of the ice. But Yegor Chinakhov, I think, does have a lot of offensive upside. I'd like to see Yegor Chinakhov over here. I think he's probably a mid to late round pick. Let me know what you think in the comments. Would you like to see Yegor Chinakhov? But I mean, hey, Columbus, they weren't afraid to move off David Jiricek. Maybe they move off Chinakhov. Maybe it's not, what they were hoping to get back. But I do think middle to late round pick for Yegor Chinakhov. Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you guys all really soon.